Hello everyone, this is Miss Weidenhamer, and today we're going to be talking about Lesson 7 and Lesson 8 of our cardiovascular unit. So specifically, we're going to be looking at the heart structure and the different structures within the heart that help us push the blood from our body into our heart and out to the rest of our body. But before we do that, I'm going to ask you to first check your answers to the blood vessels handout. I put the answer key up on Google Classroom. So first check those, see if those make sense to you, and see if you have any questions, and feel free to email me about them or join the Google Hangout from 10 to 11 a.m. and you can ask any questions that you need. And then once you're all set with that, you can play this video again and go through the heart structures. To start off, I'm going to ask you to watch these two videos to help you out with looking at how blood flows through the heart and the different chambers of the heart. They're both a nice overview of what we're about to go into in today's lesson. So first, let's take a look at how blood flows from the heart. What are the different structures? What are they called? What are their scientific names? And how exactly does blood flow through them? So in your notes, you can go through and label each of the different structures as we go through. So let's start off with blood coming from the body. So if blood is coming from the body, we know that it is deoxygenated. So we've already dropped off the oxygenated blood and we're now coming back up into the heart. When we do that, we are going to come into the vena cava. There are two vena cava that we have in the heart. We have the superior vena cava that's coming up from here, and we have the inferior vena cava that usually, in this diagram, it shows right here, but sometimes you can also see it in a diagram coming up from the body. So you're going to start off deoxygenated blood from the body coming into the heart from the vena cava. The blood is then going to enter into the right atrium, so this top chamber on the right side of the heart. And remember, when you're looking at a heart, you have to picture it in the body. So you have to flip it to know which side is right and which side is left. So looking at it, you're coming into the right side of the heart, your right atrium. That deoxygenated blood is then going to flow through the tricuspid valve and allow the blood to enter into the right ventricle. Now remember, valves help and prevent backflow of blood. So when that blood has entered the right ventricle, that tricuspid valve there is going to close once the blood from the right atrium enters into the right ventricle. From the right ventricle, we still have deoxygenated blood, so we're now going to take a trip to get some oxygen from the lungs. So we're now going to pass another valve called the pulmonary valve. You can see right here, they kind of look like doors. Okay, this pulmonary valve is going to allow the blood to come out through the pulmonary artery. Remember, away artery. Pulmonary means lungs. So we're going to bring the deoxygenated blood out through the pulmonary artery to grab some oxygen from the lungs. So you can picture a set of lungs over here where you're getting oxygen from. You're then going to enter back into the heart, now with oxygenated blood, through the pulmonary vein. And remember, vein is blood moving back to the heart. So pulmonary vein is going to enter into the left atrium. Okay, so that's now going to hold blood that's been oxygenated, and you can tell that it's oxygenated by the red arrows. We're then going to pass the bicuspid valve. So that is the valve that separates the left atrium from the left ventricle. Once we pass that valve, we're going to enter into the left ventricle. And from there, we're going to be pumped through the aortic valve here. So we're going to hit that. We're going to be pumped out through the aorta and to the rest of the body. Okay, so the flow of blood, once again, is coming from the right side. We're going to come through the right atrium, right ventricle, exit out through the pulmonary artery, grab some oxygen from the lungs, come back in through the pulmonary vein, through the left atrium, to the left ventricle, and then out through the aorta to the rest of the body. And remember, this is all happening at once. So as the heart is pumping, this is the flow of blood as it's going through the heart and then out into the rest of the body. So let's take a look at some of these questions that's on the next slide. So we've talked about how blood flows through the heart and how we get blood from the body, how we get it oxygenated, and then how the heart allows that blood to be pumped into the rest of the body. Let's take a look at these 4 questions. The first one, why the atrial walls are thinner than the ventricular walls? So think about this one. Your atria are the top chambers here. Okay, your ventricles are down here. Both of your ventricles are sending blood out of your body. Out of your heart, excuse me, out of your heart. So you're either sending them to the lungs to get oxygen, or from the left ventricle, you're sending the blood to the body. So both the ventricles are pumping blood out of the heart. Okay, so that's why the atrial walls are much thinner than the ventricle walls, because the ventricular walls need to pump blood out of the heart. Let's take a look at the second one. Why the left ventricular wall is thicker than the right wall? What do you think? Take a second to think about the difference between the thickness of the walls here around the left ventricle compared to the right ventricle. Where is the blood moving? Take a second. So the left ventricle, remember, we now have oxygenated. So we're going to pump that oxygenated blood to the whole entire body. Okay, that is a big place that the left ventricle needs to pump to. So this muscle here around the left ventricle is going to allow it to pump blood all the way throughout all of your body structures and different tissues. So that is why your left ventricle muscle is much thicker than the right. Taking a look at our third question, why the heart needs coronary arteries on the outside when blood flows through it. So remember that the heart is a muscle. There's muscular tissue in the heart. So the heart also needs oxygenated blood to function. So it not only pumps blood throughout the body and gets it from the body, it also needs an artery that's bringing it blood as well, because it's a muscular tissue that needs blood just like all other tissues. And last but not least, which side of the heart pumps the greatest volume of blood and why? What do you think? Hopefully you're all answering at home to yourself. Yes, the left ventricle. So the left ventricle, again, needs to pump that blood through the aorta and out to the rest of the body to bring the body oxygen. So now using that information, I want you to outline the flow of blood from the 2 vena cavas and throughout the heart. So take a look at what we just talked about and the diagram that we just looked at, and you try to go through and explain how the blood is going from the body into the heart, getting oxygen, and then being sent back to the heart. And then once you've completed that, if you can take a look at this video as well, there's a nice description of how the blood is flowing through the heart if you need some more help. So that's lesson 7. Using that, we're also going to head on over to lesson 8 today. And unfortunately, we're not in class, so we're going to have to do our heart dissection through an online simulation. But if you would like to take a look at the video of an actual heart dissection to get a visual image of what exactly we would have been doing in class, this is a nice video to go through. So if you hit on the Heart Dissection Lab virtual, it's going to take you to a document. This document is your lab for today. So it's going to be your Heart Dissection Lab virtual version. You're first going to go through and read the pre-lab. So I want you to go through, annotate, really read and try to understand what the pre-lab is discussing. Once you're done with that, you're going to watch the video that is attached here. Okay, the video right here. And then you're also going to go to number 2 and look at this dissection guide and read through it just so you know what exactly we would have been doing if we were in class and if we were dissecting a real heart. And then after you take a look at the pre-lab, the video, and the dissection guide, you're going to answer these analysis questions based off of the diagram here and the questions below, all based on the structures of the heart that we talked about earlier and from the videos and the dissection guide that's attached in the lab. And that is what we're going to be doing for today. So again, if you have any questions on anything, please feel free to email me. Please join the Google Hangouts if you'd like to discuss anything or have any questions, and have fun with your dissection lab for today. Okay, have a great day, everybody. See you soon.